Well, hello there. I just want to make a quick video. I won't keep you for long. I haven't been online much lately. Kind of taking a little vacation, I guess. A vacation from myself, maybe you could say. But I felt called to make a couple videos here, so I'm back. And I guess just scrolling through my YouTube page here, my favorite playlists and all that. I've been feeling kind of called to make greatest hits videos almost lately, but I also can't recommend enough my favorite documentaries here. But this is my second YouTube, so if you want my uncut videos, you gotta go to BitChute. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, whatever. But over here, at least, there's no censorship. And at least over here also, there's what's left of my back catalog. Whatever got deleted in the past. Things that YouTube definitely doesn't let you talk about. And, you know, whatever it is what it is. Rumble seems okay. I don't know who owns it, though. And Odyssey, of course, like I said before, you can download them from here, or whatever. But as the title suggests, this video is more about the Nephilim, and basically, I guess, when and how they will return. But I was inspired by a tweet I saw Gonzo Shimera of the Face Like the Sun YouTube page make, basically talking about the difference between the Sethite theory and the first and second incursion theories. And so I guess I'll just go to my Twitter replies here and show you the comments specifically. And just scrolling down, I guess, here. It started with Gonz replying to this Twitter page, the Ortho chat or whatever, basically saying it was a myth to claim that the angels cohabitated with women to create the Genesis 6 experiment. And I thought, is this the simplest statement I've ever heard? You don't realize that angels can transubstantiate if they want? I'm sure an angel could appear as a chair or a tree or a bird or whatever it wanted to, as long as it was ordained by God to be there on some kind of purpose. And so Gonz replied back about using the verse from the men in Sodom and Gomorrah, talking about post-flood, an idea behind one possible incursion or an attempted incursion. And that's where I felt called to make this quick video. The idea of the first and second incursion argument. I personally agree with Rob Skiba that there was only the pre-flood incursion, and that it was Nimrod who began to become the first of the next-gen Nephilim mighty ones post-flood. And so here's the citation right here. I'll put it in the description section below. You can check it out for yourself. But as far as back to Gonz's post, I also replied, in this case specifically, I don't think there's any evidence. I don't think that in this case specifically, there's any evidence in the text, in the Masoretic text, the Hebrew, the Greek Septuagint, or in some cases poorly translated to the King James. I don't think there's any text that the men in Sodom and Gomorrah knew that those were angels. They were just sideways sawdos, and they just wanted at them. They just wanted at every newcomer that came to town. But the concept of the Nephilim cohabitating with women or whatever, what would be called the first incursion? Well, as far as the first incursion goes, I know of one simple chart that can solve it or sum it up as succinctly as needed be. And that would be this chart right here. And conceptually, the idea was that the 200 fallen angels that landed on Mount Hermon during the days of Jared, that whatever the punishment was, them being chained up in Tartarus was so bad, even the Archangel Michael was so scared, basically, that he said, no one's ever going to do that again. And I agree with Rob, as I said before, that there was no second incursion. And that aside from this chart, which you can pause and read and whatever, and this citation here, full of videos, plus all the other Nephilim playlists on Rob's page, where he gets into what the text actually says, not what people think it says, but what the text actually says, and the concept of who these Nephilim are, and that if God didn't cause the flood to wipe them out, me and you and everyone else wouldn't even be here today. So there's that. Plus, not only all of this, the idea of the post-flood giants. There's also this other chart here that Rob made that goes along with the evidence that Gilgamesh, Nimrod, Apollyon, that they were all the same dude, the same post-flood Nephilim mighty one that went around conquering everything and creating the first empire. Maybe, he was trying to recreate pre-flood Atlantis. What was Atlantis? Actually, Atlantis, the pre-flood empire. But every mystery schooler and occultist, like the Freemasons since then, have considered Gilgamesh their greatest 33rd, trying to recapture the Great Hope, or whatever that even means, their new hope, their project for a new American century, whatever their little experiments these days. But I just wanted to make this video because when the Nephilim return, in my opinion, they're going to say they're aliens or something. They're going to try to respin this, rebrand this, pushing the alien agenda. Or even, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, just Google, "Are aliens hurt by prayer?" And then go watch these 3 documentaries. Well, start with this one, where former Deputy Director of MUFON, Joe Jordan, gets into the fact that they're sitting on, covering up thousands of case studies showing that the only thing that hurts these so-called aliens is prayer. Sounds to me like little old Lucifer doesn't want us to know that, and maybe that's why all this alien agenda stuff is being pushed. So that being said, just check out the citations below and you will find out everything you need to know about who the Nephilim are and when they will return. And so I guess that's all I got to say about that. So peace out, baby.